Hello everyone. Let's review shlokas 102 and 103 in Lalita Sahasranamam. maṇipūrābja nilayā vadanatraya saṃyutā vajrādhikāyudhopetā ḍāmaryādibhi rāvṛtā raktavarṇā māṃsaniśhṭhā guḍānna prītamānasā samasta bhaktasukhadā lākinyambā svarūpiṇī. Before we take a look at the namas, just a quick recap. We are looking at Devi in the chakras, and there are 7 chakras along the spine in our body, and each chakra has a presiding deity, and in the Sri Vidya tradition, each chakra is envisioned as a lotus with a certain number of petals, and it is meditated upon to increase the Kundalini energy. In Lalita Sahasranamam, these presiding deities are presented from shloka 98 onwards, and they are presented in the order of number of faces that the deity has. So we already saw Dakini with 1 face, we saw Rakini with 2 faces, and now we are going to look at the presiding deity who has 3 faces. Let's take a look at the namas. maṇipūrābja nilayā. Maṇipūra is the chakra that is near the navel. Abja means lotus, nilayā means residing in or stationed in. maṇipūrābja nilayā is one who is the presiding deity or residing in the Maṇipūra chakra. This Maṇipūra chakra is very important one. It's close to the navel. And the Maṇipūra chakra is where we have our identity, everything that's associated with that. And if you see, near the Maṇipūra chakra is where the Vishnu Granthi is. That is the knot where, so as the Kundalini energy races through all the chakras, there are places it can get stuck. So just above the Swadhisthana, there is a Brahma Granthi. That is all the things we hold dear. So each of these chakras, the name itself has a meaning towards it. Mūladhara is supposed to be the place where all our previous births experience is held. So that's the Moolam. And then Swadhisthana, Swa Adhisthana. Adhisthana means a place. Swa Adhisthana means that's where everything that's associated with us in this particular birth resides. And then Maṇipūra, Mani means jewel, Pura means place. So this is a place of excellent jewels. That means when we cross this, and if the energy raises up to this chakra, then what is the jewel that we will get? The jewel that we can get is clarity, the ability to make the right decisions. When will we get that ability to make the right decisions? When we see things as they are. When will we see things as they are? When our mind is not clouded, when our buddhi can see things clearly. When the buddhi is not clouded, we will be able to make right decisions. When does buddhi get clouded? The buddhi gets clouded when it is all projected through the ahankara, the identity. Sometimes if you see, when do we get mad? If someone says, if we think of ourselves to be a very smart person who always says everything right, if somebody tries to tell us we are not that person, then we'll get angry. At that point, we have lost objectivity. It's whatever the other person may be saying may be really true. But the reason why we are getting angry is because it's going against our identity. This is what we think of us. When somebody else challenges that, we get upset. So the buddhi gets clouded when we are so self-centered. And in the Maṇipūra, if the energy rises up to that, then the biggest jewel that we can get is clarity, wisdom, the ability to make the right decisions. So all these chakras are also named like that. So this is a place of jewels. And this is why sometimes if you see the gut instinct, the gut is also there. It is always correct, right? That is when the gut instinct happens, when you're not clouding it with all the thoughts in your head, mind, etc. It happens just in an instant. So Maṇipūra chakra is the one where we can have clarity, and this is where the Vishnu Granthi is. And if we want to have that clarity, we have to let go of that ego, the identity that we have assigned to ourselves through that becomes the lens through which we see everything in the world. It actually significantly impacts our worldview. So that is the place we are talking about, maṇipūrābja nilayā, one who is stationed in the Manipura chakra. Vadanatraya saṃyutā. Vadanam means face, traya means three, saṃyutā means joined together. So she has three faces. From her neck, she has three faces. So this is a deity that has three faces. And the three faces here is also has some symbolic meaning there. So all the people have three tendencies within them. The first one is an animalistic tendency. If you think about what is an animalistic tendency, the animal looks after itself. Whatever it needs to do for its survival, it will do. It will not think about whether this is hurting another living thing or not. It will do what is needed to survive. That's called as animalistic tendency. So anyone who does anything they have to do to survive, or they feel they have to do to survive, that is called as an animalistic tendency. They don't think about whether it helps other person or hurts other person. That's an animalistic tendency. The next one is human tendency. In general, for most human beings, we do look after our own. We are focused on our survival, but we also make sure we don't harm other people. No harming. Even if we can't help, no harming. That's called as human tendency. And then finally, we have divine tendencies. That's called as deva gunam. The divine tendency is someone who's focused on helping other people. Doesn't think about themselves, but is always focused on helping another person. So when the kundalini raises, the energy rises, that's the effect. The three faces here, it says that even at this point, we have the choice between the three. But if the energy rises and reaches all the way up to anahata, that person becomes so focused on helping other people. They start to portray divine tendencies. That's why it's called as anahata. Anahata means intact, unstuck. So that's where it raises. So at the Manipura, there is still all these three tendencies we can choose between. And if the energy gets through that, then we are able to pick on the divine tendency. So the three faces represent the three tendencies that are possible: animalistic tendency, human tendency, and divine tendency. Vajrādhikāyudhopetā. So vajra adhika ayudha upeta. Vajra means the vajrayudham. So it is like a lightning bolt, a thunderbolt. Adhika means many. So many, like the strong weapon called vajrayudha. Ayudham means weapon. Upeta means having. So she has many weapons like vajrayudha. So this is a deity who's stationed in Manipura chakra. She has three faces and she holds many weapons, and some of them are powerful like the vajrayudha. ḍāmaryādibhi rāvṛtā. Dāmari is a Shakti. Adi means beginning with or like. Bhirāvṛtā means surrounded. She is surrounded by Shaktis like Dāmari, or beginning with Dāmari. So I said the Manipura chakra is envisioned as a lotus. It's envisioned as a lotus with 10 petals. And generally in the Srividya tradition, each petal also has a Shakti. So the presiding deity is in the center of the lotus, and then each petal has other Shaktis, and in here there are other Shaktis starting with Dāmari. Raktavarṇā. Rakta means red, Varnam means color. In this particular context, it's complexion. So she is red complexioned, or she is red skinned. Māṃsaniśhṭhā. Māṃsam means flesh, Nishtha means residing in or staying in. So each of these devis in the chakra are also responsible for a particular body tissue. It's called as dhatu. And in this particular case, this devi is responsible for flesh. And one item with this māṃsaniśhṭhā nama, this happens to be the 500th nama in Lalita Sahasranamam. So as of now, we are 50% of the way through with the Sahasranamam. Guḍānna prītamānasā. Guda means jaggery. Annam means rice. Prītamānasā means fond of. So she is fond of jaggery rice. Apparently jaggery is mixed with water, and it is boiled to the point where if you touch a drop of it, it can come like a string, and then cooked rice is mixed with it, and that's what is presented to this particular deity. Samasta bhaktasukhadā. Samasta means all, bhakta means devotees, sukhada means one who makes them happy. How does she make them happy? She makes them happy by granting boons, by fulfilling their desires. So she is someone who fulfills everybody's desires. Lākinyambā svarūpiṇī. So who is that deity? What is the name of that particular Shakti? The Shakti is called Lakini, Lākinyambā svarūpiṇī. And each of these Shaktis are nothing but an emanation of Lalita. So they are all one and the same. It's just a different way in which she appears. So she is the form of Lalita. So she is in the Lakini form. So Lakini is the presiding deity of the Maṇipūrā chakra, who has 3 faces, who holds several powerful weapons, and she is surrounded by other Shaktis like Dāmari, and she is red complexioned, and she is responsible for the flesh, or she presides over the flesh, and she is fond of jaggery rice, and she grants the desires of all her devotees. So with that, we have looked at all the namas. Let's take a look at a small story associated with the nama Samasta Bhaktasukhadā. We said Samasta Bhaktasukhadā means one who fulfills all the desires. She grants all the boons and makes her devotees happy. And today we will look at a story of a goddess who not just grants the boons of her devotees, whatever they desire, but she grants them all in a minute. And that's why she is called as Nimishambā. So let's look at the story of Nimishambā. So we've already seen the story where Indra killed one of his preceptors. He was the son of Tvasta Maharishi, and we've seen the story before, so I won't go too much into detail. And that created a vengeance from Tvasta Maharishi on Indra, and therefore he created a demon called Vritrasura. And then Indra, with the help of Dadiji Maharishi and Vishnu, was able to kill Vritrasura. But then that remained as a vengeance, and that didn't go, and it was continuing through the generations. There was Vritrasura, who was also trying to avenge the death of Vritrasura. And then Vritrasura was conquered with the help of Gayatri Devi. And now there is a grandson of Vritrasura who's now still wanting to avenge the killing of Vritrasura, and actually to start with Vishwarupa, who's Tvasta Maharishi's son. So the grandson of Vritrasura is called as Janumandala. So Janumandala had this deep-seated angst against Indra, and he also always wanted to conquer. And besides, there is always a long-running rivalry between Asuras and Devas, which we all know. So it started from the time where they didn't get the Amrita, and ever since these Asuras have always been behind immortality, and therefore they are known to go pray to Brahma and somehow get this immortality. So that is also there. And here there is also a personal vengeance because of the whole episode of Vishwarupa being killed by Indra. So Janumandala wanted to always get back at all the Devas. And Janumandala went and prayed to Brahma. And as it is known, Asuras are capable of severe physical feats. If they have to, they will go without food, they will do anything. They have amazing willpower. So it's an immense capability that they have. So he prayed for several thousand years together, and then finally Brahma appeared, and Brahma asked, what is it that you would like? At that time, Janumandala, obviously, just like every other Asura said, I want to become immortal. Brahma said, no, everything that's born has to die, so ask something else. And so Janumandala said that I cannot be killed by anything that is born out of a womb, right? So that should be taken care of. And if you see even all the devas, etc., they're all Aditi's sons. So it will take care of, nobody will kill Janamandala. So Brahma went ahead and granted that boon. And with this boon, Janamandala became very bold, and he had a good army and great ministers and great warriors with him. And there was also a great commander called Sumandala, who was with Janamandala. So with the help of Sumandala and other warriors, Janamandala was able to completely subdue Indra, Agni, Yama, Varuna, Soma, everybody. So all the gods became his slaves, and they were completely not able to do anything. So they become slaves to Janamandala. And if you recall the story of this Vishwarupa and Indra and all, the reason Indra got so mad and beheaded Vishwarupa was because he believed that Vishwarupa was giving a portion of the things that come to the devas through the yajnas, the sacrifices, to asuras also. So the devas are the sole recipients of the yajna that we are doing. The general concept is that the devas are extremely dutiful. So they are all responsible for some aspect of it. If you look at Chandra, he's responsible for life on earth, right? The vegetation, everything grows only in the night. So then there is Varuna, who's responsible for the rain coming on time. So all of these gods together take care of making sure the working conditions on the universe is preserved. And we all do all these sacrifices in the earth, so that it is a thanksgiving to all these devas. And therefore, whatever we put in that yajna as ahuti, then it's Agni's job to distribute it to the right people. And when we give all these thanks and sacrifices, that makes the devas, that's the nourishment for devas. Therefore, they continue doing their job. So this is a whole cycle. When they do their job, we give thanks. When we give thanks, they are nourished. Therefore, they do their job. So it's a complete cycle. So now this reason Indra got very mad is that he thought some portion of that was being sent to asuras, because Vishwarupa's mother was from the Asura clan. So that's why he beheaded. So Janamandala was not just happy with just making all these devas as a slave. He also made it a point to make sure that no sacrifices happen in the earth. So he would, if there is a sacrifice happening, he would go somehow stop the sacrifice. He will pollute all of it. He will attack the sages. And as he is coming in the earth, he'll also attack human beings. So everybody's life was becoming miserable because of this Janamandala. Of course, he was driven by vengeance. And so they all didn't know what to do. So they went to Brahma as usual. And Brahma and Vishnu suggested that this time it's better to take the help of Shiva, because this has been an ongoing saga. So they said, let's go to Shiva. So everybody went to Shiva and they said, please somehow help. And this time even sages, everybody went, because there nobody is able to do any yajna. And we all know, if all this stops, then the living condition on the earth will become impossible to live. So something had to be done about this. So they all went to Shiva and said, Shiva, please help. What should we do? And at that time, Shiva said, this is a situation that will need Shakti's influence. She's the one who's capable of putting an end to all of this. So why don't you all do a sacrifice called Pundarika Yajna? And this Pundarika is something that's done for world peace. It is considered to be similar to Vajrapeya Yajna, which is also done for world peace. And Vajrapeya, if you think after Ashwamedha, Rajasuya, Vajrapeya is one of the biggest yajna. So it's a big deal. Lots of people come, lots of rishis come. There is a very organized process around it. So then the question came up, who will preside something like that? And at that time, Shiva recommended a sage called Sage Mukta. And there is a backstory for Sage Mukta. If you look at it, Sage Atri and Anasuya, Atri Maharishi and Anasuya had many children, and the last of them was a sage called Soma. And this sage called Soma had a daughter called Sushila. And the Sushila was very particular that she will only marry someone who's very good at Vedas, who knows all the Shastras, and she wanted someone who's an expert in all of that. And so they searched far and wide, and they found this sage called Sumanasaka. So he was the one who married Sushila. And sage Sumanaska and Sushila wanted a son, and therefore they started praying to Shiva. And when they were praying to Shiva, after a while Shiva answered their prayers, and so they asked for a son. And at that time, Shiva from his left arm took a string of pearls, and he gave it to Sushila and said, "You wear these pearls, and through that blessing you will conceive a son." So from then, Sushila started wearing those pearls, and she conceived a son who's called as Sage Mukta. Mukta means pearl. So because he was born out of the blessing of Shiva and through the pearl garland that he gave, the boy was also called as Muktakeshwara. So he was the prasada of Ishvara. So he is Muktakeshwara. And the boy grew up, and he was very good at all the shastras, everything. So Shiva recommended Sage Mukta and said, let Sage Mukta be the chief priest for this particular yajna. So immediately everybody was told that there is going to be this big yajna that's going to happen. So all the rishis who are there are coming. Gautama Maharishi, Vishwamitra, everybody is coming there, and together, now everybody knows the dire circumstances, so together they are all making a focused effort under the leadership of Sage Mukta to go and do this yajna. So they all start the yajna, and Vishwamitra is starting with the first ahuti. Everybody is there, all the sages are surrounded, and at that time Janu Mandala gets to know. And you can see Janu Mandala generally itself does not allow any sacrifices to happen. Now this is a sacrifice purposely done so that they can put an end to his tyranny. So obviously he's not going to let that happen. So he comes with a big army, and he starts to attack everybody there. He not just is focused on stopping the sacrifice. Now he's so mad that he's attacking all the sages. And now Sage Mukta is looking at it. He is unable to stop. He's a sage. He's well versed in Vedas and everything, but he can't take a weapon and start fighting with this Asura, who's a very powerful Asura. So Sage Mukta is completely dejected. He's looking at this. He's seeing that the sages are being attacked. He can't take this anymore. And at that moment he says, you know what, Shiva himself said that this yajna, Devi will bless and she will help us kill this Asura. And in that moment he was thinking, where are you, Devi? We are all getting attacked like this. We started this yajna to get your blessings, but now we are being attacked, and where are you? Please come. And when he said, please come, in an instant Devi came out of the fire pit, the yajna fire pit, and then she killed Janu Mandala and Sumandala. And because she came out in that exact, in a minute she came out, she is called as Nimishamba. There is also a slight variation of this story. It is said that when Sage Mukta prayed, then immediately Devi came out, but she didn't kill Janu Mandala and Sumandala. Rather, because Janu Mandala and Sumandala could not be killed by anything that's born out of the womb, it's said that Devi created a boy from the moon. Based on the moon's attributes, she created a boy, and that boy is called as Sashabindu. So Sashabindu had so much power that he was able to kill Janu Mandala and Sumandala, and therefore this lineage of people who came from Sashabindu, they're all called as Soma Vamsha Arya Kshatriya. So that's a lineage. Apparently that clan exists even today. And but the way they killed Janu Mandala made his wife unhappy, so she cursed that they would not be so rich anymore, and therefore it said that they lost their kingdom and they are now all artisans. But that clan exists now, and they are devoted to Nimishamba, and it seems that every year they do this festival for Nimishamba. Actually, there is a temple for Nimishamba in Mandya district, and it's in a place called Genjam, which is like very close to Srirangapatna, and there is a temple for Devi Nimishamba, and the Shiva there is called as Mautikeshwara. Again, in here it's the pearl reference there, and it is a very beautiful temple. The goddess herself is a slightly small idol. It's made out of black stone, and if you enter the temple, just on the right hand side you can see her sannidhi, and there is a Sri Chakram that's carved under her, and that is supposed to be extremely powerful. And it is a very popular temple because she grants everybody's desires in a minute. And generally here, lemon garlands are offered to the god and goddess. And when the lemon garlands are offered and the pujas are performed, they place that on the Sri Chakra. And then that lemon is distributed. And if somebody takes that lemon to their house and keeps it there, then she grants all their desires. So it's a very popular temple, and it is in Mysore, Mandya district. That's all for today. Thank you.